you ever feared your fire, then this video is for you. I know when people are coming into anger work that they are absolutely terrified of the fire. And rightly so. Fire is scary. Think of a volcano. When that thing blows after many, many years of being dormant, then that causes absolute hellish destruction in its path. But what is left behind when the volcano has finished erupting? Well, that's actually very fertile soil. And there's a metaphor here, obviously, that the fire sometimes is needed to let go of what is old, to burn away, the same way that in nature, forest fires occur naturally, to make way for new plants to come through. And this is the same with the emotion of anger. Anger can literally destroy, but it can also build. If you're brave enough to let it do its work. We've been taught that anger is destructive and that it's dangerous. Because all we see around us when people are exploding with anger, think of road rage, think of people acting very immaturely and aggressively to each other, getting into fights and yelling and screaming, that is very unhealthy expressions of anger. So of course, we've grown up thinking anger equals bad. But the thing is that unexpressed anger, this build up slow resentment that's like this volcano building up inside of your system, when that is unexpressed, that is what becomes destructive. Now, the reason for this is because your ability to have a connection to your anger, if that is not healthily flowing, where you're able to really easily identify it coming up in your system and do something about it in a responsible way, when you're getting more and more numb to this emotion as it builds up in your system. Say, for example, you wake up, you missed your alarm, a little bit of anger, but you're not aware of it. You're driving your car, someone cuts you up, more anger, but you're not aware of it. You get an email from your boss at work, more anger, but you're not aware of it. Until suddenly you start to hit full capacity of like 80, 90% of your anger, that then something really little can happen, like your partner making a comment to you, you dropping your keys at home, something occurring that really does not validate a huge explosion, yet suddenly you explode. There, destruction can happen to yourself, to relationships, to your environment around you. Just think of the cliche of men punching drywalls. That doesn't just come out of nowhere. It comes because their body can't regulate in that moment the surplus of this sudden wave of anger. When we can channel our anger healthily and we have this connection to it, it doesn't destroy your life. It actually becomes your clarity. It becomes your ability to set boundaries, to say no, to say yes to the things that you do and don't want. It becomes your ability to say the truth. First and foremost to yourself, what am I really feeling underneath the surface? And second of all, having the bravery and ability, the directional, healthy expression of anger, to speak your truth. This, in effect, brings about change. And yes, that can mean that your life changes through starting to embrace your anger in a healthier way. So we can also have a look into what is the difference then between catharsis versus conscious use of your rage and anger. So finding expressions for physically moving through the emotion of anger are of course very useful. You can look at all the emotional release videos on my channel for different exercises and movements to help your body find a release to this excess of emotional charge. But it's not the end point. Once you've found a catharsis and movement through of this emotional energy, this is when the clarity comes through. This is when you can notice, what is my truth? What in my life in this situation needs to change? What do I need to stop accepting or actually say? Where is it that I need to act? An example of this I have from my own life was that I used to find myself having these waves of anger coming up when I used to work in the corporate world. And you can imagine there is this clash of the ego happening when you're in a place that you don't want to be. When in this capitalistic society, we have to pay rent, we have bills, there is an exchange of money required, and that often means working jobs, giving your body and time to stay in a job for money to pay for things. This clash of autonomy happened so much inside of myself, but I did not have the tools to identify this. So there would be points in my weeks or in my months, I would come home from work and I would be seething. Everything my colleagues did was annoying me. I was triggered by this, annoyed by this comment. I hated this aspect of the job. And there was so much anger arising inside of my system. And first of all, I was putting the blame on things outside of myself, I was letting myself get triggered. I was letting it affect me emotionally, that I would then bring this home with me. And then I noticed that I would need to shake, I'd need to cry, I'd need to yell into a pillow. But only then when I could let myself surrender to the emotional charge arising, do all of those things, then came the clarity. Okay, wow, I'm letting my emotions be directed by the environment that I'm in there. I'm expecting something on the outside to change. People, the systems of the work that I was in, my manager, people's behavior. I was expecting them to change, otherwise I would not feel good. And the first step of taking self-responsibility there was actually, okay, I'm not a tree. I can also leave. I can move. I need to take responsibility and take healthy action to change something in my life. So that looked like applying for new jobs, updating my CV, asking around for places of how people's work environments were, seeing what I wanted to change. What did I actually want to be doing with myself? And not just sitting away in a company that was literally draining the life out of me, was making me feel bitter, resentful. And if I hadn't tapped into my emotional energy, I would have stayed there. I wouldn't be doing this work. I wouldn't be working with clients now. I wouldn't be working with emotional release and anger, because I would have just let myself stay stuck. And anger is this energy, this driving force that gets you out of procrastination. It gets you out of not knowing what to do next, because you simply need to act. So the main points you can take from this: when you feel this anger emotion starting to arise in your body, do something with it which involves moving your body. Go slam a towel into the table, go hit a pillow, go squeeze a blanket, do some silent screams, go yell into a pillow, go dance to some angry music in your bedroom. Get the body involved in this process. The mind doesn't need to keep thinking. The body actually wants to express. And second of all, listen to the message that comes through. The insight, the download, the aha moments, the information that comes after moving your body. Because that's actually the little whispers of where your subconscious wants to take you in this life. So that's the thing, this anger, it's not chaotic. It can actually be very directed. And when we step into this maturity around owning our anger, we stop blaming the outside and start naming. So I promise you, yes, anger is going to bring some change. It's going to have some of that fire from the volcano that's going to burn through certain aspects of your life. But I'm pretty certain that they are the aspects that were not in alignment, they're not suited for where you want to be going and the kind of person you want to be becoming. And sometimes it's all about trusting that as well. If this resonated, I'd love to hear your comments as always. If you feel like this would be resonating with someone else, then share it with them. I'll see you on the next video.